Roll call, please.
Barr,
Here.
Giovannini, Eckhoff,
Here.
Callis, Lee,
Here.
Hauser, Bradshaw,
Here.
Cranford,
Here.
Howard, Willie.
Here.
Thank you. Being the first meeting of the month, we need to have a meeting of the Civic Center Authority, but with no business to come before the Civic Center Authority, we will adjourn that meeting immediately and go right on to the consent agenda with 2 items.
I motion acceptance of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jason. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Here.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to the regular agenda, item A, police purchase license plate reader. Chief, you're on.
Good evening, everybody. This year saw the installation of our block cameras like was listed on your memo and for the council packet. They just went live in late September, so I just looked it up the other day. We've had 30 or 31 documented involvements with the flock cameras. I mean, they're going well, but it is a young program. The reason for my presence here tonight is the 4 cameras we have, it's $2,500 a year. We're locked in for year 1 and 2 at that rate. However, beyond that, they go up to $3,000 a year. They gave us the option to extend the contract for 5 years at the lower rate if we would like to do that, and I'm just requesting authorization to do that unless we have any questions about it.
Do they have, so are upgrades incorporated into the?
Yes, annual upgrades, any software, any malfunctions, they come and fix and replace. That's part of the annual fee.
Okay.
So far, so
far,
good?
so good. I don't have a real, great, I wish we had some huge crime spree that was disrupted. I don't have that yet, but I'll gladly.
Yeah, right.
We just assumed
Deterring
not.
that huge.
So we need a motion to continue?
I so move. Second, man.
Okay. Motion by John Willie, seconded by Jerry Krauser. Roll call, please.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Moving on, Jim's raring to go with liability insurance.
Yeah, so it's that time of year again. This year, being my first full renewal, I sought some bids from other organizations. Gallagher was our insurance provider currently, and what they do is they go to the marketplace and seek bids on our behalf. IML is the Illinois Municipal League. If you recall, some while ago we were part of that. However, at that time we were part of a min-max risk plan. These bids that I sought from them were not part of a min-max bid plan. And then CIRMA, which is the County of Illinois Risk Management Association. There are approximately 30 members of that. We asked if they would consider us as a member, and they said they would, and then also bid on our liability insurance as well. As you can see from the coverages are pretty much comparable between the groups. There are some different things that some might have a higher aggregate for the year. Some may have a higher per occurrence. That makes sense. But all of them would fit the needs in our history of our claims. The deductibles, as you can see, IML came in with the lowest deductibles, and the CIRMA came in with $1,000 deductibles. Trying to go with the deductible with CIRMA to match what we would spend for the premiums, we'd have to have a lot of claims with IML to reach that premium from CIRMA. So the one thing with CIRMA that's different from the others is CIRMA on your initial wants a 3-year commitment from the city, and that way you can get a good feel of how things are going. They're built like the Illinois Municipal League. Is they're a self-funded they're a self-funded fund, and as the claims from the whole group, they're selective on who they're letting in. As the claims from the whole group come in, that affects the rates next year. Livingston County is a member of that fund, and they've been very happy with it. They've been a member of over 10 years and have been happy with the rates. It is also administered by the Gallagher staff, who we're familiar with now. That's who we deal with. And so it's my recommendation that we would utilize CIRMA and adopt that 3-year plan.
We're not giving up anything, going away from Gallagher?
We're not, no, we're giving up the higher premium and higher deductibles.
But your rate's locked for 3 years.
But the rate is not locked. The rate can vary based on the risk that everyone
So is it assessable if they have a bad year? Do they make assessments?
They could. They said they have not made any assessments in over a decade. So that's a possibility, and I think that's a possibility with IML as well. So their increases, Gallagher, their increase was, I want to say it was like 16%. As you see, last year's premium was $695. That came down to $622 because they were able to get IPRF, which is our workman's comp, to give us a much better rate because the rest of the marketplace was really struggling trying to keep up with rates. So.
But the premium is a substantial savings for them.
The premium is substantial, yeah, 504 versus 622,000.
Would they still then handle workman's comp?
Yes, so it won't be IPRF, it's their workman's comp contract is through Safety Source. Yeah, and so you know, these aren't claims that are built on just CIRMA. So CIRMA does have contracts with Trident, who we use now, and other, you know, Lloyd's of London. They utilize those. They self-fund, and it's in tiers. So the first tier is one company, and then CIRMA's fund that the members pay. Then the next tier would be like Trident. When you're getting up into a big claim of like $8 or $10 million, Trident and the big companies are the ones who pick those ones up. You save the money by not having to make those claims. The majority of your claims aren't that high, so that's how that is funded.
Seems like we were, to at least fluctuate with the claims, basically. Put towards these, that's how the prices fluctuate and things.
Yeah, so, right, so your lower claims, the self-insured pools save money by not, like I said, they're not utilizing the market rates. They're utilizing the self-fund for the low-level claims, and then as the claims move on is when they start moving into your Tridents and Lloyd's London. So it'll have property, auto, cyber, all the same coverages that we currently have. And we won't have to worry that if we stay under, we don't have that minimum that we have to stay under or we pay an extra. This is it for the year, so.
And in 3 years, I mean, Gallagher could be lower and the other ones could be higher, that's just the way it works.
Potentially, yes, yeah. I'll tell you that the CIRMA reps told me that they've lost, in the last several years, they've lost one client, and that was a political reason is why they lost it, so.
Insurance has been crazy in the 16 years I've been on council. Boy, we've been all over the place with.
Yeah.
Price has to be important. As long as we're getting the same coverage, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, we took a risk with that min-max, and it really dinged us bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only scary thing is the 3 years. Who knows what happens next year? But
Yeah.
it's still. I mean, that's a big difference.
You've got 122,000.
And I think one of the benefits, at least, with looking at CIRMA is they're selective on who they're letting into their risk pool.
Yeah.
So like they had to look at all of our claims and everything before
Sure.
I mean, it was possible they could have just said no, that we don't want you in our pool. So
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Jerry, seconded by Kelly, to accept the Surma bid. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Item D is, or C is the employee Christmas gifts.
yeah, so in the past, the following has been designated as employee Christmas gifts. Full-time employees were receiving $75 cash, and part-time employees and on-call firemen that are currently employed receive $50. I would just recommend that we continue the same policy this year.
I would motion approval of that
Second.
recommendation.
Second.
Okay, motion by Kelly, seconded by Mike Barr. Roll call, please.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Congratulations, Gary.
Thank you all very much.
Before we get to the Eagle manager, do you want to take a moment to introduce Gary?
Sure, yeah. So I would like to introduce Gary Beckman. Gary is the Parks and Recs Director. He started today. We kind of went over some issues that we have going on, introducing him to the parks, to the team, to the other members, and he then spent the rest of his time kind of getting acclimated. I don't know if Andrew ever made it over there to get your stuff working, but we'll. All right, so Gary, if you have any, Gary's a longtime resident, former and recurring member to the city.
I keep
so.
moving away, but you guys keep calling me back home.
Pennies.
So, my wife is from here, so I do. I spent probably half my life in Livingston County, and most of that half in Pontiac. So it is my home now. I consider it home. So the opportunity to come back is made us all very happy. So we're excited to be here. My wife, my son as well. He's an 8th grader. And of course me. I'm excited to get going. Great team of people I met today to work with. A lot of good things on the horizon, and really excited to be a part of it. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you here, Gary, and we hope to work well with you over the next several decades. Good. No, congratulations. Thank
Now you gotta get the ice rink open.
Yes, there you are. That's later in the agenda, so. Okay, moving on to Eagle management discussion.
Yeah, so items D and items E kind of go together, but the Eagle Theater, as things had progressed over the years, when Liz moved into this position from where she was, we've kind of taken on a lot of other responsibilities. And one of those things is we have the Eagle Theater. We have a great investment there. And we are having a hard time getting it booked and staffed. And so I gave you a listing of some of the job duties of the marketing, the event coordination, and the operations and the technical coordinations of the Eagle Theater. So what I'm really, the discussion today, all I'm really asking is for some openness to let us explore filling a position and seeing if we can fund it, because we want to use the Eagle, and we have people asking us, and we're kind of in a position where we're having a hard time saying absolutely you can book it when we're not sure we can staff it. So to have somebody that can come in, and what I'm really thinking is right now we started off with, if we can get a part-time coordinator that will be able to fulfill those bookings and getting those events coordinated, then I think we'll be in good shape to at least evaluate where we can go from there. But I don't know. I think it sits empty too much. So
What are the catering options for there now?
That's item E, and we can talk about that now. So right now, if you recall in the past, we had a catering agreement with Bernardi's, and then that moved over to Acres Inn. And so what they would do is they would provide food and drink service, whether that was sodas, water, or alcohol. And what they did is they had a state catering license, and then they had a liquor license that was attached to the Eagle. But it was their license, but it was attached to our Eagle. And so that way they could provide that service off-site from their business. We were notified, it was either late last year or this year, but that Acres Inn had two issues going on. Staffing was one of their concerns, and they weren't getting booked enough at the Eagle to make it worthwhile for them to buy those licenses, that catering license. And so so that puts us in a spot there. Right now it's hard for us to book an event and then tell people we don't really know what your options are. And so one of those issues is we're not going to attract right now somebody that is going to go out and buy a catering license and become a caterer for the Eagle if there's not enough bookings for them to make that profitable. So an option to consider would be, as we're building this plan, would be twofold. That food could be like, so if I was going to book like a wedding, I could book my own catering, and whether that's somebody who provides alcohol or not. And I just say, for an example, a sandwich shop. Maybe somebody wants to bring in a bunch of sandwiches, and then as far as alcohol goes, well, I added in your packet the state's liquor license for a temporary license allows for a liquor license holder to provide that service off-site at the location specified. You can get a 1 day or up to 2 to 15 days. So a 1 day, for example, they could do. Unfortunately for us right now, the first page is the last license is a temporary license. And our temporary license entitles a holder to sell alcoholic liquor at retail on the premises only for a period not to exceed 3 days, which would be fine. But it says no temporary license shall be issued to any licensee holding any other class of liquor license. So, I mean, I wasn't here when that was made, but I'm guessing that is more like you're not-for-profit that's holding an event that they don't own a liquor license, they don't have one, but they need one for an event. I think at least a remedy for that would be to allow a temporary license to be issued to a local liquor license holder. That way, for example, Pub 13 or Acres Inn or somebody could then get booked to get a temporary license at the Eagle. And I figure those fees that the state charges, they're going to pass on to their customers anyway. So it's definitely cheaper than having to go out and buy a catering license for a small number of events.
Well, the loss of Acres Inn is because of our inability to show scheduling.
Yes.
So you
Both.
want
It was staffing for them, and then it was
right.
They weren't getting booked enough.
Right.
Correct.
So I understand that too. Staffing seems to be a problem everywhere.
It is.
So to look at a part-time position, before you can even address that, you kind of have to have some strategy as to how often you want to run events there before you can really even entice someone to want to come and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what have we had for a schedule at this point? I mean, have we just waited for...
So I know that we've had, and Liz can jump in, but I know we've had at least a person that's been asking us for a booking for New Year's Eve at the end of next year. And we've had others asking to do weddings that we just aren't sure whether we can fulfill that commitment. So, yeah, I think part of the whole package that's why we brought both items is that it would be fruitless to say, let's hire an account manager if we have no way, or I mean, a manager if we have no way of then providing a service that if it remained where they had to have the catering license that nobody's going to do, right? And so we're just wanting to get, I guess, some direction on whether that's an option that you are willing for us to explore and put together a package or a game plan to move kind of forward so we can start booking it.
Well, I mean, I like this idea of the temporary. I mean, I think it is much more equitable to everybody and provides a lot more ability for people to do. But some of what I've seen from other type of venues is that they have a list of approved caterers that they allow to come into there, and those groups have already provided us with the insurance. We know they have their licensing, and it's not just one place. And then those groups can be potentially different sources of temporary alcohol. Essentially, the renter decides who
Right.
they want to use based on the money they want to spend and so forth. And that might be a better, although there's not a lot of those places maybe around, but, you know, if they knew, because even 15 days, I mean, I would hope that we could have the place booked for more than 15 days where we might have alcohol service. And so they'd have to get multiple different special use permits.
Right, and so my thought process really was that this would be, if we made that necessary change to the liquor code, that the onus would be on the renter, that they could, if I wanted to use this establishment and the mayor wanted to use that establishment, all they would need then is their temporary license,
Right.
our temporary or their special permit, and then our temporary license,
Yeah.
and then they would be okay.
Yeah.
And we don't have
Can I
very
just jump
many
in really
15
quick?
days. Huh?
Can I,
Yeah.
on the clarification, because when we're talking about catering or we're talking about alcohol, they're kind of two separate things.
Yeah.
We would send out a letter to all licensed kitchens within, Livingston County, and they just had to provide, so anybody that was capable of serving food in the facility was allowed to, per our license, the way our license is set up through the county. Does that make
And
sense?
then they could bid on doing the job.
So the renter would be the one that contracted directly with the food caterer. However, there was one entity that owned the
What?
liquor.
The liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
and they would have to use that person. And the person that was in charge of, or the business in charge of the liquor understood that they might not necessarily be the food vendor as well for an event.
I understand what you're saying. You're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that when Bernardi's had it, Bernardi's didn't necessarily have to provide the food, but if you wanted liquor, it had to come from Bernardi's.
Correct,
Right,
yeah.
because they had the catering license and the agreement. Yeah, and I don't know how many of our establishments in town even have catering licenses. So.
Yeah.
So in essence, what we're gonna end up doing is sending out a lot of letters looking for possible people to oversee and begin this process. And going down through the criteria, we'll basically need someone that's, dynamic enough to get bookings and staff. And, the staff doesn't have to be full-time, it's on-call kind of business, so, but that's what we're needing to get into if we're gonna use the Eagle to its, not full potential, but to a potential that's beneficial.
So when we look for this person, do they have to be local? Have to live in town? Those kind of questions you can answer too. Better if they're not, I think.
Well, and I think, that would just be a process that Liz would begin, and we'd hold interviews like we would any other position and try and find the best qualified.
Not every consultant that we use lives in town, so,
Well, no, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I just don't, I just meant if it's gonna be a position,
yeah. But it's not-
This one I wouldn't necessarily think we would want to hold them to.
But we want to get the word out so we get ideas back and potential, so.
There's a lot of people who I think would be more interested in renting out the Eagle if it was more of a sure thing. But because we don't have anybody, we don't have the catering, and we don't have it, nobody wants to bet on a maybe. We need somebody running it.
Well, there's less facilities available, as we all know.
I mean, I'm not, yeah, I know, yeah, I saw you there Saturday, and I know you were there other days too. It's just, it's hard. That's a big job. And with everything else going on, it's just, there's too much.
Well, and that's really why I brought this here is that with our community enrichment plan, we've taken on so much more that in the past we've had 3 people and we've added so many more things and we still only have 3 people. And so the Eagle has been very difficult for us to market and do all those things and get tickets ready and all that and do it right and spend the focus on it. So. And
we really don't have places around here for things like that. If you were going to have a wedding, there's the Elks. I mean, there are places, but there's not a lot.
Not much.
It's not much.
Yeah, there's not a huge number to call on. And this would just give us a greater benefit for the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the Eagle was developed, I'm sure we've all listened to the story and how it came about and all the problems and everything else that went with it. But it turned out to be a great place, and we've had great events there. The Madrigals are just there, and you know, of course, the Vermilion Players have had several good shows there too. So you know, it's the place that we need to, you know, get more activities too, like everything else. So this is just step one to get us there, or a new step, I should say, not step one. We've already built the place, so we've got to buy it. Okay. I think we're all in agreement that we need to proceed and get some feelers out there to see what kind of response we get back.
Okay.
Moving on to the paid leave on All Workers Act.
So this was the ordinance that was tabled 2 council sessions ago. I've done research. There aren't a lot of communities that are in the same position as us, although every community, you know, is concerned about this paid leave for all. This is still the Illinois Municipal League's model ordinance. The Illinois Municipal League has been lobbying the legislature to exempt municipalities. One of the strange things about the ordinance, I mean the law, is that a park district is excluded from it, but a municipal park department is not. And so, anyway, the municipal leagues, and the municipal league's recommendation, if you recall, section 2 on page 2 at the end it said that employers shall provide all city employees 1 paid day of leave. And if you recall, we have a number of really short-term people who, going by what the spirit of the law was, that for every 40 hours work you would earn 1 hour of paid leave, would never hit that mark in a number of years combined, because we have some that are just paid per on-call, like a fire on-call person, our band, those types of employees. So I had made an edit to it that, because the spirit is that all employees should at least have time off, right? And that was the point. And so I added to change that the city shall provide all city employees at a minimum to accrue paid leave at the rate of the 1 hour per 40 hours worked up to at least 1 paid day per leave. It maintains that 1 paid day per leave that the Illinois Municipal League ordinance suggested, and then it uses the accrual for those others that would be there. And I suspect as the year goes on, there'll be a number of challenges to this law, and we'll finally get some harder rules fleshed out as the next year goes on. But it puts us in a position to have an ordinance on the books before the first of the year.
So you need a motion to
Yes.
accept
Yeah.
the ordinance as written to 2023 0-028. I would motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jamie. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Are we gonna let Alan talk about the tax levy? or-
I'll take that one.
Okay. Well, he was just sitting here waiting to jump in, you know. Go right ahead.
All right, so item G is it's a draft tax levy. I'll bring that fully to us next council session. But you can take a look. What I've included on the front page is the draft levy ordinance. The CPI for this year was 5%. PTEL is the percent change from the previous year in the CPI for all urban consumers. And this levy is an increase of 4.9%. So how we levy, just so you know, the rate doesn't increase 4.9%. The dollars is what we levy on operations. And in the end, the rate actually was a decrease in the tax rate, and which came out to a decrease of $163.03. Basically, it wasn't much of a decrease, but it's better than an increase, I suppose.
$30.
Right.
And so it's based on the last year's tax levy. It's based on $100,000 of EAV, which was $284.39. This year, that $100,000 of dollars of EAV would be $1,921.37. The biggest changes on the list, as you can see, the liability insurance, as we just passed, maybe you do, maybe don't recall, in the past, well, with the min-max, we've had some bad years on that, and that fund is actually upside down, and so we're still trying to catch up on that fund. The other two, the police pension. The police pension is one of those that we're statutorily obligated to fund what the actuarial Foster & Foster says, and this year was an additional 6.71%, and the fire pension fund was an additional 16.85%. So those created a little havoc on where that money went. So most of the funds remained flat on what we're asking for. However, the fire protection and the police protection is where I made up those differences. I cut those just about in half to make up for the fire and police pensions. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much equal. And then the last thing is the memo from the library. They also are part of our levy. They also asked for the 4.9%. So in the actual levy ordinance, you can go through, it lists the budget. That is this year's budget. And then when you get to page 7, it'll show you the differences between 2022 and 2023. And you'll see there really aren't a whole lot of differences other than those main funds that we talked about there. You have a couple weeks if you want to digest that. Any suggestions? And then I will bring the final tax levy back for a vote on the next council.
18.
Yes, sir.
And you're good on truth and taxation, right?
We're under we're
5%
4.95, and 5% is, anything above 5% would require truth and taxation hearing, so. And once again, this was, I was assisted with this by Lauderback as well. So they've looked at all the numbers and they're comfortable with what we've asked for. So this one, we don't need a vote.
No, right. But please look it over carefully, because we will be voting at the next meeting. Moving on, ambulance substation engineering proposal.
Yep. And so Joe is here as well. We've had a number of discussions for quite a long time, and so we're finally at a point where we have the land and we're ready to start talking. Procurement methods were design, bid, build, and design, build, and I'll let Joe kind of explain where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. So good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Russo. I'm a civil engineer for Farnsworth Group here in the Pontiac office. As Jim said, we've been working with him and the city as things have progressed with this substation, on siting, things of that nature, up to the property procurement. And we've now put a project team together and prepared a proposal with two options tonight to present. The two options we prepared, option one was a conventional design, bid, build scenario where Farnsworth Group would prepare plans and specifications up to a level of construction and documents where we would bid that out, select contractors, and then proceed with construction of the building and the site. As we talked with Administrator Wolford, there had been conversations with pre-engineered building manufacturer Blue Near Builders. He had expressed interest in going a design build route with either that contractor or another similar one, maybe like Morton Buildings or something would be a little more familiar to everyone, where they would act as a general contractor and take plans and more of a narrative description of specifications that we prepared, and then they would handle bidding and securing contractors for other work, electrical, plumbing inside the buildings, excavation for site work, paving, stuff like that. And then they would, from the bidding stage and construction, they would handle all the work. So if you can see the option one, the conventional design, bid, build, our estimate was $175,000 for our design and preparation of the plans and project manual. For option two, for the design build option, where our plans and information would be taken by a general contractor and then bid out, just due to basically the omission of some design effort, architectural and especially mechanical engineering, plumbing in that scenario. We wouldn't need to complete a full design. That design effort would be deferred to the general contractor. Our cost is lower for that. $112,000 would be our proposed fee for that scenario. And then just a few things to note. Whatever option you decide to go with, those would both include assistance with the CDS grant that is being used to fund the project. We would help with administration of that and providing information that Administrator Wolford needs just as that grant proceeds and is used to fund the project. Both scenarios would include design of a compliant storm shelter within the building, and then the drawings for either scenario would note portions of the work that the city had opted to complete with staff resources on their own. Just talking with Jim, he expressed there are portions of the project they would like to take on with city staff to do some of the work just to help with costs for the project. And then the only really exclusion that is specifically noted is either option in our proposals. We don't include any design of low voltage systems, we call them, which would be communications, alarms, or security systems within the building. That would have to be subcontracted or contracted with firms specifically that handle that type of thing. That's just kind of a quick overview. If there's any questions from anyone, I'd be happy to go into detail further, the best I can, so.
Jake, any questions on your part? Yeah.
As I read it, so this is an opportunity that we've never had the ability to do as a municipality.
Correct.
And so, clearly, I mean, it sounds like it's definitely more cost-effective.
It is,
For
yeah.
us to do
So
this?
not only do we save on the engineering that Farnsworth has to do, but we'll, by the end of the project, we will have saved because the building manufacturer also can control the construction and, you know, so, and for I guess, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but like a Blunier or Morton building, they already have lots of templates of these that are architecturally stamped and,
Yeah.
and so we basically, working with Joe, will give them what our needs are, and then they can work around that and then build it to the specifications we need, like to the point where Rick can get in and do the finishing and all that. So either we'll make savings up front here, but we'll also make savings versus a design bid build by just going with a design build.
Do we have to seek multiple manufacturers?
I would assume that procurement is the same, right? I mean, we would seek multiple bids from manufacturers.
To select,
They have to pay for
to
prevailing
select a
wage.
single general contractor. I would have to check on that. I can't specifically say that would be the case, but I know they would secure competitive bids for all the other work. So I would think the city would be obligated to kind of do that competitively up front, but I can definitely check on that for you tomorrow and get an answer back to Jim that he could pass along to everyone.
Because that would be our method of negotiation if you get down to it.
That would be better off having more companies.
I don't know why you wouldn't want to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Yeah.
think that would be a requirement.
Yeah.
Seems like a no-brainer that we go with the design build.
Yeah.
So all Rick's gonna have to do is just build whatever he's handed. Basically, he won't be involved in.
Right, correct, yeah, he won't have to build a structure and they'll be architecturally built to code and, yeah, and then he can, what he's capable of and what we're capable of doing, we can have some cost savings in there as well, so.
I make the motion. We go with the design build.
I'll second it.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Scott, on the design and build program from Farnsworth. Roll call, please.
Cranford,
Yes.
Lilly,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Think we'd ever get there, Jake?
Yep.
Well, thank you, everyone, and then with that scope selected, we'll go ahead and get a contract put together, for the mayor to sign.
Okay, Joe.
And then I will get that answer to you tomorrow on the procurement of your general contractor for that, how that'll need to go down, so I will check with Caius in the morning and get back to you.
We appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.
You are very welcome.
Okay, moving on. Wow. There's no need for executive session, so it says mayor's comments. I was going to talk about the ice rink, but Gary's kind of new to it, so I'll wait a day or two.
We don't warm it up, yeah.
Chris has been working hard on that project, so we'll just see how things go here in the next 2 weeks. Work up from there. I was telling earlier that I've been getting a lot of emails and calls about various book signings and events, and boy, there's just a bunch going on. Must be the holiday season. Liz has been busy. The Madrigals, I understand, was just fantastic. I would like to know where Bob got that coat, but we'll go into that later.
He's had it for
A while, yeah.
He's got the whole suit. Yeah,
The pants too.
Everybody,
yeah, he didn't wear the pants.
just be prepared for a great holiday season, and we'll work from there. City council comments.
Yeah, I had one. I went to Issues and Eggs, Tom Bennett spoke, Tip Sword spoke. Salvation Army stood up, United Way stood up, and kind of dropped a bombshell on everybody. And I was kind of sitting there thinking, they're bringing up problems that we're facing in the city and county. And I thought, wow, you've never come and talked to us about it. We've never seen you. So I'm going to do some digging in on that. There was some other issues. They covered the Safety Act. They covered some of the 40-hour stuff. Was interesting. I know we talked last month about maybe meeting again as a whole. And there was just some issues. I don't want to throw them out on everybody's lap now, but maybe there's some things that what Tina Howard brought up, Deb brought up, employment problems, child care, and this relates into not getting employees. How do we bring in employers? We can't get employees, we can't get child care. Maybe there's something as a city as a whole we can meet, we can talk about these things and help address them. So that was just a suggestion. I know probably in January before we all meet again as a whole, or we could do that, but I think that'd be a good time to get together and look at some of these issues. They're real issues. You can't bring an employer if you can't get employees. And
And we seem to be having that problem, not only here, but throughout the entire state.
it's not just, it's the whole state, county.
So, okay.
No, I've had those conversations with Deb also, and it's really more holistic than just trying to find someone to come work here. It's housing and it's childcare and it's all the whole thing together. And I agree with you. We really need to have a conversation around that to see if, while we're developing our strategy for the future, how we can fit those in. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other council comments? If not, city administrator.
I just got a couple. When that Issues and Eggs is going on, myself, the mayor, and Adam Donitz met with some of the other businesses in town, Caterpillar and LSC, which is a Cody group now. And we had some of those same discussions that kind of centered around, while it's always nice to hit the home run and bring a great new business in town, what can we do to help keep what we have? And as expected, they echoed many of the same issues. So I know we're going to follow up with a couple ideas when as far as when they bring new people to town on just different welcoming things that can happen. I know there are have some ideas that they're going to try and get with the high school. And if you've seen the news, lots of businesses are talking about maybe foregoing some college requirements and doing on-the-job training more. And some of our local businesses are looking that route as well. So those conversations are kind of taking place. The other notes, again, I want to thank Chris. Their guys have been working super hard getting the ice rink ready to go and getting all the decorations up. Again, Misty, the downtown looks fantastic. And then just a reminder, December the 14th is a business after hours. It'll be at the Elks. That's the annual honoring city employees. So if you're wishing to go, if you would just let Fawn know and she can RSVP for you. And finally, just a welcome to Gary. We're really looking forward to it. I know the staff over there at the rec center has echoed to me a number of times how excited they were that when they found out it was Gary, and having him, he's got a list, so welcome.
It was all that money I sent ahead of the time to say nice things. Excited to be here.
Public comments. Anything to bring up?
Curious as the location for the
I need a snake, please.
been determined?
For the ambulance substation? Yes. No, you're fine. It'll be located, the land that was purchased is just south of the RP lumber storage sheds on that same side of the road, 200 feet in that next field.
It's staked out.
Yep.
It's out by the hospital?
It's, yeah, across from the hospital. It's more directly across from the nursing home. That's by the hospital.
Right on the crest of it.
Pardon?
What's his first name?
Greg.
Greg.
Oh, yeah,
Got it, thank you.
sure. We didn't know your names, so we had to ask.
My name is Monica, I just
Yeah.
didn't know the first name.
Couldn't get through yet. Other than that, I think we'll meet again in 2 weeks and have some other discussion to bring forth. Liz, great job with the light-up parade and everything else that went on for the last couple of weeks. But you're not done. So, and Gary, you're just starting. So again, welcome to the fray, and we're looking forward to your work here. Other than that, a motion to adjourn. John Willie, seconded by Mike Barr. We're adjourned.
I don't use the names.